like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting. This is the 12th meeting of the year of the City Board of Directors. And tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor James Turner, and the pledge will be led by Deputy Police Chief Billy Harvington. Please rise.
Let's pray. Our Father, we're so honored for this evening to be able to ask for your wisdom and guidance. You said in your word in Proverbs that when good people are in charge, that the people are happy. And so, God, we pray tonight for goodness. We pray for goodness for our elected officials, for our city council. We pray for those who will stand behind this podium to present them, that there would be goodness in their heart and that they would allow that to reign in their presentation, their attitude, and all of our spirits. God, give us wisdom tonight to make wise decisions and direction. Bless our city. Bless those that lead it. Bless those that serve it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to again thank Pastor James Turner for the invocation and Assistant Police Chief Harvington for the pledge. This time we'll call the roll. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Elaine Jones.
Here.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda or items to be moved from consent agenda to new business?
Mayor, I do have a request on behalf of staff. You have one item under new business. You have at your station another additional resolution that's a companion to the new business item. It's a resolution authorizing the sale of two Ford F-550 buses. Pursuant to your rules of procedure, this would require a motion, a second, and a vote of 2/3 of the membership to add that to tonight's agenda, which would place it at the end of new business.
So that would be item number 8. Do we have a motion to add
So
this?
moved, Mayor.
We got a motion by Director
Second.
Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Trusty to add this item to the agenda. Please call the roll.
Holliday. Aye. Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trusty.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. So that would be item 8, and if I'm correct, would that be R21-84? 84.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So please make that notation. Approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting held on June 1st, 2021. Are there any additions? Oh, wait, we just added that. We got.
correct.
I'm sorry, I got ahead.
Approve it as an.
Approve the agenda as amended. A motion, please.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Weatherford. Director Garcia made the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion, the minutes are approved. I gotta say it, Director Weatherford, I'm sorry, I just looked over there and I got blinded.
I saw that.
And I did a double take. I was prepared for it. I thought I was prepared for it, but I'm not. I'm gonna have to pick up my wardrobe a little bit to balance the. That is one bright coat.
The ladies are helping.
Thank you, sir.
That is true.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Don't get too warm, man.
Don't get too wild. Okay.
Maybe a purple.
Oh God, he's gonna bring purple next week. All right, here we go. Consider approval of the minutes of the regularly held meeting on June 1st, 2020. Are any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Director Jones?
Second.
Second by Dobbs-Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. We have a proclamation to present to Mr. Elmer Beard or Marcellus Weatherspoon, who are guests of Karen Garcia for Juneteenth Independence Day. And I'll read this proclamation, and Director Garcia and I will present to Mr. Beard and Mr. Weatherspoon. Juneteenth, whereas on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Ranger landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War had ended and that enslaved people were now free. And whereas Major General Granger announced to the residents of Texas, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between the masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becoming employer and hired labor. And whereas the first Juneteenth celebration was held in Texas in 1866. Since then, Juneteenth has been celebrated across the United States, providing an opportunity to mark the emancipation of enslaved people. And whereas on this day, in hundreds of communities across the country, people of all races, nationalities, and religions join hands to acknowledge the painful history and lasting systemic impact of slavery and racial injustice in the United States. Juneteenth is an opportunity to recommit ourselves to the goal of creating a more equal and just society, an effort that continues today. Now, therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim June 19, 2021 to be Juneteenth Independence Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and urge all citizens in Hot Springs to take cognizance of this event and to participate fittingly in its observance, and urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in history and in the heritage of our nation and our city. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on this 15th day of June in the year of our Lord 2021. So, those, Director Garcia, Director Jones, do you want to join us? Director, Mr. Beard, and Mr. Weatherspoon, please come forward.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We will have a Juneteenth celebration on Juneteenth, which is the weekend, at the Farmers Market in the afternoon, and the documentary film festival is coming in with us.
Thank you. I'd like to say a few words.
Yes, I want to introduce Elder Weatherspoon, who's the president of the NAACP. I'm Elmer Beard, and I want to thank Director Garcia and introduce President Weatherspoon of the NAACP to have words, since I'm now in October and passing things on to those who are much better prepared and younger than I am.
Good evening. My name is Marcellus Weatherspoon. I am the current president of the Hot Springs NAACP, unit number 6013. We are proud to be in this community for 79 years, and we will be celebrating our 80th birthday in 2022. But even before that, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People has been incorporated since 1909. So we are the longest, oldest, boldest civil rights organization in this country. But thinking about Juneteenth, we know that June 19th, 1865 was an important day, but we also know that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1862. So almost 3 years went by that those slaves did not know that they were free. And so I thought about what ways do we not know that we are free today? And so it made me think about the shackles of voter suppression. It also made me think about the shackles of consumerism that plague us today, and the shackles of intolerance and hate that we are still experiencing in the present day. So if you didn't know, you can be free from all of those today. So let's vote, let's get out there 2022 and 2024, and let's break the shackles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have a second guest who's joining us from via Zoom, and that's Caden Parker. He's a local mountain biker and a young man. Hi, Caden.
Hey, how's it going?
Real good. The community of Hot Springs was introduced to Caden along with probably 40 or 50 other cyclists about 4 years ago when we wanted to introduce those who participate in cycling within our community, and we had a lineup of cyclists, and many of them had just completed a ride or were in the middle of the ride, and they were in their gear similar to what Caden's wearing tonight. And Caden was 13 years old then. I think you're 17 now. Is that correct?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
13 years old, and his brother's a year or two younger than he. His name is Finn. Well, Caden has taken cycling to a new level in Hot Springs, and I wanted to reintroduce Caden to our community and talk briefly about what he's been up to. About a year or so ago, right before COVID, Caden asked me, or his mother asked me, if I would write a letter of recommendation so he could get on a national junior training team of some sorts out in Colorado, and I was happy to do that. And Caden, tell me a little bit about you joining that group and what it's all about.
It's been great. It's been really good to join a team where there's other junior riders that are as passionate about the sport as I am, and we all can push each other to become better and just stronger riders and racers and better people in general. And then it's just been really good to be able to travel around the world and the U.S. now and race bikes as fast as we can. And yeah, it's been an amazing opportunity that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, you join this team and you train here, but you also go out to Colorado and other locations to train, and you participated in some junior national tournaments. How did you do in those?
Well, recently I was just in Europe, and I raced in Albstadt, Germany, and that was the biggest race I've ever done. About 180 racers, and I placed 7th, which is probably my best performance ever. So yeah, that's probably my best performance ever.
Now, Caden, for those who don't understand cycling or mountain biking, you kind of went into this without any reputation, right? And so
Right.
you were seated, what? You were in the 32nd position, or how were you? Where was your starting spot in this race?
It wasn't bad. It was actually had a really good start in Germany, but last year I wasn't so lucky. I've had to work my way up through the ranks. Luckily, I've had a really good year, and I've had a lot of really good races prior to going to Europe, so I had a really good starting position. I think I was 7th call up, which means I was the 7th person to get on the start line, which is really good out of 180 racers. But I haven't always been that fortunate to start that well. A lot of times I've started in the back, close to, like what you said, 32nd position, and had to fight my way to the front, which is really hard.
So you finished 7th in a international race, and that was a World Cup race?
Yeah.
For juniors? It was a World Cup race for juniors. You were the top American?
Yep, I was the first American to finish.
First American to cross the finish line right out of Hot Springs, Arkansas. So tell us about the bike trails here locally and how those help you get to where you are today.
Of course, they help a ton. You'll see me out there all the time. I'm riding Northwoods and Cedar Glades, almost every weekend. And that's where I do 99% of my training. So it's huge to be able to have those trails and live so close to those trails and be able to access them, so easily. And so that's been huge in my development and getting me to the level I'm at now. It's being able to just ride out my back door and be on some of the best trails that I've ever ridden. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to have that so close.
Well, now I understand that you were nominated to be Arkansas Times Athlete of the Year. Tell me a little bit about that.
I had no idea about it until everyone else found out as well. I guess I was nominated by a few people, and someone sent me the link to the post, and I was just in shock, obviously, completely surprised, had no idea. And if you look at the names that are on there, they're like really other like amazing athletes in Arkansas. So I'm like just so blessed to be on that list and like really excited to be on the list with those people.
Well, being the top American in a junior international cycling competition is pretty stout in and of itself. So,
Sure.
So the Kyle Clem, and this is more for the viewing audience and those here in Chambers. He wrote a Facebook post, telling everybody to get out and support Caden in the Arkansas Times Athlete of the Year. And he says, Hot Springs all-time greats. Bobby Mitchell from Hot Springs High.
Yes.
Hall of Fame running back for the Washington Redskins. Paul Runyon had over 25 PGA Tour victories and won the PGA Championship twice. Cliff Harris, we all know him from the Dallas Cowboys, and he was a captain there. James Recker, Arkansas first Olympian, brought home a silver medal in the 100-yard dash. Antoine Hicks, we all know Antoine, and NCAA champion Olympian in the 110 hurdles. Shamika Christian, All-American and WNBA player. Lafayette Lawson, world kickboxing champion. And he says, now Caden Parker, 17-year-old mountain biker, ranked 12th. Are you still ranked 12th, or did you move up?
Yeah, I'm ranked 12th right now in the world.
12th in the world for juniors mountain bikers. And so that's quite an accomplishment, and we wish you the best. And anything that the community can do, you got our full support. And have you memorized the link to vote for Arkansas Times Athlete of the Year? Can you share that with us?
I haven't memorized it. I need to do that.
Well, you're on live streaming, so everybody look it up. And Arkansas Times Athlete of the Year, Caden Parker. Thank you, Caden, and get back on that trainer and spin a little bit.
Thanks so much. All right, I'm gonna go ride my bike.
Bye now.
And for those of you who want to tune into the mayor's podcast on biking,
Yes.
every Thursday morning at 5 a.m.
Well, there's a bigger issue here is we as a community have a responsibility to really provide a variety of activities for our youth, not knowing exactly what they're going to take to, and by providing different opportunities and different platforms for them to express themselves or to demonstrate their capabilities, you just don't know what's going to happen. Caden, he comes from a family of cyclists, and they cycle together as a family, and they have a daughter who does some other things but does some mountain biking as well. Caden's being pushed hard by his younger brother Finn, who's no slouch in and of himself. So probably have Finn up here in a year or so. But I think it's pretty cool. Anytime you have somebody who gets to the national stage, mountain biking certainly isn't isn't as well known and as popular as some of the major sports. But within that cycling community, what he's done at this age right now is huge. And certainly visit Hot Springs, the Walton Family Foundation with their development of the Northwoods, the Cedar Glades, which is a county facility, and the Walton Family Foundation put, over $500,000 into that to improve it. You got the National Park Service working with everybody on a connector trail from Pullman Street to Northwoods. You got further development of the Walton Family Foundation assisted in a bike trail over at Lake DeGray. We got the Womble and the Lovett trails out west. We are the epic center of mountain biking in the United States. And it doesn't get any better here. And we should have more people like Caden coming up through the ranks as a popularity of mountain biking amongst our youth. And if you ever want to see kids who really put out hard, go to one of those high school mountain biking races. We generally get one tournament or one race here in Hot Springs, and these are kids who very few of them are going to be like Caden, but they're working hard and they're trying their best. And there's a group in town that will make sure that if a child wants to compete, they will get a bike to race on and to work on. And so it doesn't matter what your background is, you will be outfitted with everything you need to become a member of the mountain biking team. So, we have a lot of support for our youth in that regard. So keep an eye on Caden and keep an eye on mountain biking. And for those of you who travel up and down downtown Central Avenue, most of those bikes on the back of those vehicles are going up to Northwoods. And there's a lot of people come to town. So thank you for this little extra long edition of recognition of gifts.
Yeah.
City Manager's Report, Mr. Burrough. That's a hard act to follow.
I was keeping track with your minutes going, I think I can still beat it, but I don't know.
I'm going to start my timer.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I want to talk a little bit about our solar plant that we've got online. The City of Hot Springs and Scenic Hill Solar will host a ribbon cutting ceremony at 10 a.m. on June the 23rd. This is at the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant at 365 Winkler Road to celebrate the completion of our first Scenic Hill power plant to supply electricity to the City of Hot Springs. The original solar plant ribbon cutting ceremony has been rescheduled from the May 18th, which was postponed due to the rain. But I think anyone that attends will be very, very surprised at the array that we have out there. And it's about 1 megawatt. At the end of the time that we have our build out, we'll have around 12.5 megawatt, which will be one of the largest, if not the largest municipal solar arrays in the project in the state. I think when we first announced that, we would be totally self-sufficient on renewable energy through the solar power project, and we were the 6th city in the nation to do so. So we're very proud of it, and we have the first one online, and we continue to work on which one will be our next. But again, 10 a.m. June 23rd at the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant, and we'll cut that ribbon and talk a little bit more about that. Something I'm very proud of is we've been able to help over 4,000 homes with food with our CDBG CV food program. Using the CDBG funds that we were awarded under the CARES Act to respond to COVID-19, we had $50,824 in food buying credits that were actually purchased by the Arkansas Food Bank. Those credits were distributed to 4 local nonprofits who have partnered with the food bank. That's Jackson House, Salvation Army, Lake Point Church, and Faith Point Ministries. Since the program launched in this past year through the month of April, we were able to help 4,031 households which received prepared meals and food boxes from this particular project. So very proud of those that have partnered with us on that, and want to thank the board again for allowing us to use some of those COVID monies for that very important project. The parking lot at the Hot Springs Park closed at noon today. It'll remain closed through 5 p.m. tomorrow for the installation of a walking bridge. This bridge will connect the Hollywood Healthy Trail to the Hot Springs Creek Greenway. Should be completed by the end of August. And again, as most of you know, we've pretty much completed. We have one little section left that we're working on the final design. We have it funded to go from the transportation depot to the Gene Wallace Trailhead, which will be at the end of TV Hill Road. This particular section now is starting our east-west corridor that will connect the Greenway with Hollywood Park, as well as a good portion of what we have built already towards Malvern Avenue. So we're trying very hard to connect these neighborhoods, and so this will be a very big piece of that, and it's a bridge over Hot Springs Creek. Talked a little bit about Southern Airways at the last meeting, but on June the 4th, Southern Airways CEO Stan Little, he came to Hot Springs and met with Glenn Barentine, and there they welcomed the inaugural intrastate flights from Harrison and El Dorado. The new flights from Hot Springs to Memphis, they operate on Thursdays, Fridays, Sundays, and Mondays. Harrison and El Dorado flights are Fridays and Sundays. And then the popular Dallas routes, we still continue to do 14 weekly flights there. Fares are really economical, $39 to Dallas. That's inclusive of tax. Fares to Memphis, as well as state flights, have a promotional fare through June and July at just $19. So, you know, you can't really drive to Memphis in 4 or 5 hours right now, but you can fly there in about 50 minutes for $19. So if you're heading to Memphis or looking for a nice weekend getaway, I suggest Southern Airways. We had a dedication ceremony on June 9th, again talking about the Hot Springs Creek Greenway. This was a ceremony for 2 recent additions to our trail sculpture garden near the farmers market. And we had 2 sculptures that were completed by Joe Allred, and their Bell Trio and Cubic Cognition. Both of those are again in line with the farmers market. So if you haven't had a chance to look at some of the sculptures we've got along the Greenway, I suggest starting there at Transportation Depot and then walking due south, and you'll see a lot of neat pieces. Finally, 2 employee items I'd like to mention. Lieutenant John Caldwell, who had 25 years of service with our fire department. He was our only retirement in May. John was a great fireman, continues to be a great man, and we wish him well in his retirement. But after 25 years, he decided to hang the hat up. So Lieutenant John Caldwell, we wish him nothing but great things in the future. Derek Leverton, Inspector Derek Leverton recently earned his certification as an accessibility inspector and plans examiner, and this is basically our ADA certification. He's the first one in neighborhood services to achieve this challenging certification, something that I know Director Garcia has talked about many times. So very pleased to have someone that's now certified in that ADA certification. He also recently aced the stormwater inspector certification class, which is actually offered by our Public Works Stormwater Division. And we train people from all over the state. We typically train ADEQ members on our stormwater plan. They've adopted our plan. So very proud of that certification, very proud of Derek and the work that he's doing. And he added these to his previously earned property maintenance and housing inspector certification. So very proud of that, of Derek and the work that he's doing. He just continues to excel. So Mayor, with that, I'll close. I don't think I got there, but
You're longer than me?
I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I tried.
Nah, you didn't get it.
And your point would be?
I enjoyed what you had to say very much.
All right, moving along. Board of Directors announcements of upcoming events. We have any upcoming, Director Holliday.
Just one this week, just one. To save the date for July 8th at 3 p.m., there is an event called Anything is Popsicle at Watkins Park, and it's a fundraiser for the impending splash pad at Watkins Park. And they'll have, it's National Freezer Pop Day on that particular day. So they're leveraging National Freezer Pop Day, and we'll have popsicles out for the kids, and then we'll be doing a small fundraiser for the splash pad July 8th at 3 p.m.
Very nice, thank you.
Just for kids?
Oh, no, you can have a popsicle.
Yeah,
Go for it.
3.
3 o'clock.
Any other announcements? Director Weatherford?
Mine's a little far out, but I've been looking for a date to do a large barbecue contest, KCBS. We have applied for and have received Memorial Day weekend next year, which is the 75th anniversary of the airport, and that's going to be our theme. We are cutting teams off at 50. We started 6 days ago, and we have already gotten 12 inquiries into it. So I look for it to be a The last one we had was in 2009 there. We drew 119 teams. But that's, takes a lot, so we're going to cut it off at 50. And we'll fill up the whole airport area with the 50 teams and the participants and the attendance for there. And I will announce probably monthly as we go along. We're going to have entertainment and hopefully a fireworks display and some other kids' things to do and other things for the adults.
Kansas City Barbecue Society.
Kansas City Barbecue, and you don't get very many of those. And that weekend, it's the only one that's been asked for in this area: Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Tennessee. So we'll be drawing teams from there. We're going to give away about $15,000 in prize money, $5,000 to the grand champion. So
Very good. Well, that's, mark your calendar. You better find a 2022 one.
actually send us the judges from KCBS, and it costs us nothing for the judges.
Any other announcements of upcoming events?
And I told you about Juneteenth. That's coming up.
All right. We'll move on to consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that do not require individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved, Mayor.
Director Jones, seconded by Director Weatherford. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. We have one item under old business, is to reconsider a conditional use permit for Covenant House to expand an existing residential group living facility located at 276 Linden Street, and our staff report will be provided by City Attorney Brian Albright.
Mr. Mayor, to avoid any appearance of irregularity or not being objective, I'm going to recuse myself from this item.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Albright?
Mayor, this comes to you by way of one of your procedural rules, which states that once an issue is adopted or defeated, it may not come back to you again at a subsequent board meeting as new business or otherwise for at least 180 days from the date of adoption or defeat, unless a motion is placed, the proposition on the agenda is approved by 2/3 of quorum. And so, Mayor, as you read, the item is a motion to reconsider. If there is a motion and a second, then you can have discussion on the issue to reconsider a conditional use permit for Covenant House to expand its existing residential group living facility located at 276 Linden Street. I will note as well that this is merely an administrative function. If there is a motion, a second, and a 2/3 affirmative vote, all that means is that it will show up on your business agenda July the 6th. There will not be discussion on that issue tonight.
Everybody understand that? We're not deciding the merits of whether or not, or a motion, whether to approve or disapprove the use, but just whether or not we want to hear it formally again in first meeting in July. And with Director Garcia recusing, 2/3 would be 4.
It's 4 at this point, yes.
4 of 6 would have to vote in favor of it, assuming we had a motion and a second.
Correct.
So,
Mayor, I move that we reconsider the item.
Director Holiday's made a motion.
Second.
Director Jones has made the second. Discussion amongst directors. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
No.
Weatherford.
No.
Trusty.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Motion is approved, 4-2. We'll place it on the agenda for the first meeting in July, which is July 6th.
Yes, sir.
At this time, under new business, we'll consider Resolution R 2183. Council, please read the resolution by title.
Mayor, this is Resolution R 21-83, a resolution amending Resolution Number 9655 pertaining to the purchase of 2 medium-duty low-floor cutaway transit buses and amending the 2021 budget. That concludes your reading. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Director Trusty, seconded by? Director Jones. And staff report will be provided by Lance Spicer, Deputy City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item comes to the board as a recommendation to complete a previously approved purchase order, and as part of the amendment is to amend the way that we purchase these 2 low-floor 2021 F550 cutaway buses. I'll kind of go through a couple points on them. The reason that we're requesting the difference in the purchase is to use general fund monies instead of the budgeted FTA funds. The reasoning behind that has a couple points of merit. The FTA funds, if you use any federal funding to purchase an asset, there are certain certifications and requirements, assurances that you'll use that asset in a very specific manner, but you also use it for a specific term. So the reason that we're asking for the change in the purchase is that these particular buses are not something that are workable for our transit system at this time, and we would request that the general fund monies be used for the purchase to allow for the disposition of these particular assets, which is a later item on your agenda. I'll talk briefly kind of about the buses themselves and then move through some of the procurement issues as well. These were buses purchased for fixed route transit system, which is generally what one thinks of when they think of the bus system. Those are buses that move along a specific route. We have 3 routes. You're moving along Park Avenue, Central, Albert Pike, etc. And the fixed route, there's something very specific about them when you use buses for fixed route system. That means that the operator needs to stay within the bus itself to have ready access to the passenger compartment. So these particular buses were meant for a fixed route system. And I'll talk just kind of briefly about the procurement side of things. Whenever the City of Hot Springs, this actually came back. This was actually in May of 2020 when we began the advertisement for these particular 2 buses, and in doing so, we received bids, and I believe there was actually 2 bidders with 3 different units. The bid was awarded in July of 2020 to Central State Bus Sales. That was for 2 2021 F550 Champion low-floor cutaway buses. The purchase price totals $364,704. So I believe that's approximately $182,352 apiece. And in awarding that bid, there are some specific specifications that the manufacturer checks off that they meet those specifications. In particular, the issue that we're having that's giving us issues for fixed route deals with the driver compartment, which means that you need to be able to, and the spec called out that the driver needed to have ready access to, need to just be able to swing their legs and exit the driver's seat to get into the passenger compartment. So that's the issue that we're having with these two units. And at this point, we've worked with Central State Bus Sales probably over the last 3 to 4 months to work toward a fix for these particular units, and as of yet, we haven't been able to come up with a workable solution. So at this point, of course, Central State Bus Sales, they have made a demand for payment, which is they want to be paid for the units that they delivered. And I'll talk kind of briefly about the budgetary impact and kind of the financial side of things. In 2020, the City of Hot Springs was awarded CARES Act funding for its specific from FTA for its transit operations, received about $2.1 million. So that funded the transit operations for that year, which was obviously a a great benefit to the transit system, but also to the general fund, because transit system is a general fund dependent department. Usually on a given year, you're talking about $480,000 that is needed from the general fund to match those transit activities. Depending on what the operations are, FTA will match it anywhere from 80 to 90 to 50% on certain aspects of it. So obviously the reasoning behind moving to the general fund for the purchase, we save the general fund some funding, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to ask for some of that back to complete this purchase. It's not a recommendation we come at lightly, obviously. This is something that general fund monies are something that we covet and protect dearly. But at this point, it doesn't appear to be a workable solution from our side with fixed route transit. If the board does approve this particular resolution, the direction would be to market these units for sale. These are two new transit buses that have multiple applications that could be used across multiple different uses, from airport shuttles, other transit systems not specific to fixed route, as well as church buses, school buses, educational institutions. The list kind of goes on. So that's really what our recommendation is to bring forth to the board, is to complete the purchase with Central State Bus Sales. That concludes the presentation.
Any questions of Mr. Spicer? Director Garcia?
And my questions are about the process, not about any individual or department or anything. But so that this doesn't happen again, have the processes been looked at? It looks like this is the first time this spec for F550 instead of the E550 went into the procurement bid, and with the first time that a specific type of specifications have been used, sometimes that requires a little bit more of oversight and inspection to make sure it fits the needs, and in this case, a fixed route for our bus system. So has the appropriate actions been taken to review the process and adjust the process so that this type of situation doesn't occur in the future?
Yes, Director Garcia, we've reviewed the process, and obviously this misstep won't happen again. Whenever we do our specifications, not only will they be more detailed in specifically what we're looking for, but also we intend to lay eyes and see how these two components, the chassis and that passenger body, fit together. So that's something that we can certainly check the box and know that these are going to be workable units for us.
And that went up to the city manager and attorney for a review also. I mean, within our process, whether it's a bus or whatever it is, you want the right processes in place.
That is correct. We procure hundreds of vehicles,
Right.
and we've had a very good track record of speccing those. We have very knowledgeable department heads that know what type of piece of equipment they need, what works best for their industry. This particular one, we had one clause in there that we felt like met the specification for that driver to be able to enter that cabin or the cab area of the vehicle. But there were some wording issues in there, and we've addressed those with our city attorney. But in the end of the day, when we make any type of a wholesale change of a specification change, we're going to make sure that we have the ability to visit and look at one of those prior to writing the spec itself. We never want to be that first one.
Yeah, I understand.
And these, and I don't want to take anything away from these buses. They are top of the line, very, very nice pieces of equipment that I do believe will sell fast to the right application. That money, as Mr. Spicer stated, will go back into our general fund. But we've had a lot of internal, even though we've had a great track record, we want a perfect track record. So we've had those conversations both with city attorney, deputy city manager, our fleet director. And so we will make sure that that's written into our processes moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Did everybody have the opportunity to go out and view the bus?
You want to take a recess?
Pardon?
You want to take a recess?
No, we're not taking a recess. No, it did look, they tried to modify the bus so that the driver could get in and get out from the inside, but short of being a wannabe gymnast, it would be challenging for people to be able to respond timely to a situation in the passenger compartment. So,
Caden could probably do it.
pardon?
Caden could probably do it.
No, I myself jumped in there. I mean, I didn't necessarily have a problem, but I could just see where it's just not a long-term workable solution. It's you hate to be required to do that throughout the day.
3 or 4 inches.
Yeah. All right, we do have, any other questions of Mr. Spicer?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes, please.
we're going to purchase these buses and then we'll turn around and sell them. We'll use that money to go back into the general fund. Then we still have that FDA money to purchase buses that work on a fixed route.
Yes, that's correct. FTA, we receive annual FTA grant allocations is
Okay.
what they phrase them as, and we do have a grant allocation, multiple that are ready and willing for fixed route as well as for other expenses in FTA.
Okay. And we've talked, I think, at the agenda meeting about there being a 1-year time frame to get a new bus. So that will assist us in the marketing of these two. But what about the purchase of the buses that we need for our fixed routes? Will that be a 1-year process for us to get those buses?
8 months.
Pretty close. That's why we really want to kind of get the issue with these particularly behind us so we can move forward to looking at two specific fixed route purchases for buses it will take some time to procure them, but I will say that there is a cooperative purchasing agreement through Oklahoma Department of Transportation that meets FTA regulations, but that will assist us in finding two fixed route buses that we will go view in Springdale, Arkansas before we purchase those particular ones from the vendor.
Okay. And these two buses that we're purchasing, we don't have any other use for them at this time?
Not at this time. They don't really fit well for fixed route, but they're also, the configuration and the size of them are too large for an ADA paratransit just due to the configuration and the overall size of them.
We do have a couple of interested parties currently, and hopefully that will grow. And, a worst-case scenario, we're probably looking at 8 months. But if these buses to the Oklahoma agreement are available, it could be much shorter time frame than that. Lance, I don't remember that exact number. I think we've got about 800,000 somewhere there on those FTA grants.
That's correct.
So we're in good shape from the FTA side of the house. We'll be in great shape, I think, on the general fund side of the house. And again, these are funds that in 2020 came from our CARES Act.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to be able to supplement that back into the general fund once we sell them.
Any other further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one individual that signed up to speak on this matter, and Mr. Mark Toth. Please come forward and restate your name, address, and what city district you reside in.
My name is Mark Toth. I live at 110 Montclair Lane. I live in District 1. How much are we spending on these buses? A lot of numbers were thrown around. Nobody said, how much are we spending on these buses?
I believe Mr. Spicer stated that in the beginning.
$364,000.
$364,000. That amount was never mentioned. And my question is, and the question I'm surprised no one has asked, there's a lot of talk about how we can sell these and they'll sell for a good price, a lot of talk like a used car salesman, but how much are we going to lose? Are we going to sell these for a profit? I don't think so. They're old. You buy a car, drive it off the lot, you're not going to get dollar for dollar, so we're going to be losing some money, okay? And I understand the reason why. You don't want to go to court and fight it. That's expensive. Litigations may be cheaper. But are we ever going to find out how much we're going to lose? Is there ever going to be a report telling the taxpayers we spent $364,000 buying buses we can't use, and we had to resell them, and we've lost $5,000? $50,000? $100,000? How much are we, the taxpayers, going to lose on this? And no one's mentioned that. So my question is, will there ever be a report telling us, and don't forget, we got carrying costs. You have to insure these. You have to license them. When you go to sell them, there's going to be selling costs. If you have to transport them somewhere, the purchaser is in Washington State, and you have to load them on a truck and ship them there. Those costs will have to be borne. So, as a taxpayer, and again, I understand incidents occur, but the question, is this going to be more or less than was spent remodeling the city manager's office a few years ago? Are we going to ever find out how much this error cost the taxpayer?
Mr. Attorney, I think that's addressed in the next item.
It is addressed in the next item. All purchases and sales are a matter of public record, obviously, so the public would have access to both the figure that we pay to consummate this purchase, as well as any subsequent sale of the vehicles.
So will that be, while it may be available, will it be pushed out, or will it be something you have to do a FOIA on to get the information? Is someone going to step up and say,
You won't have to do it for you.
It will be made public?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We have no further individuals have signed up to speak on this issue. Discussion amongst directors. Please call the roll.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trusty.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution's adopted. We added to the agenda R2184. I'll ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-84, a resolution authorizing the sale of two 2021 Ford F-550 buses and for other purposes. That concludes your reading by title. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Was it Director Garcia?
Yes.
And Director
Trusty.
Trusty. And the staff report again will be provided by Deputy City Manager Lance Spitzer.
I'll go ahead and tee this up,
Okay.
Mr. Spicer.
I'm sorry,
That's
Mr.
all right.
Albright.
As Mr. Spicer indicated, as I indicated earlier at the approval of the agenda, this is a companion to your previous matter. I just want to spell out that Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-54-302 provides that the sale of city-owned property by municipality, and that the city does own these two buses that we've been talking about. They are not suited for their intended purpose and will no longer be used. It is in the best interest of the city to sell same pursuant to Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-54-302. And so therefore, the board does resolve that the mayor, by and through the city manager or his designee, is hereby authorized and directed to sell the following personal property by any means provided under Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-54-302. Both of the buses with their VIN numbers, provided that any such sale shall be subject to a minimum reserve calculated at 90% of the city's actual cost for same. The available methods under this statute 14-54-302 include a public auction or internet auction. The city routinely uses eBay, as the board knows, for a lot of our surplus vehicles. This will probably be the method that is used because there are not a lot of carrying charges associated with that type of a sale. We will contact the multiple other vendors who might want to resale or ultimate users of these vehicles to encourage them to go online and enter their bid on eBay for the purchase of one or both of these buses. But there will be a reserve minimum set at 90% of the city's actual cost.
Director Garcia?
So upon approval of this resolution, will the finance department then go ahead and book the 10% as an expense and reserve for the loss and then adjust it when we have the actual sale up or down?
Ms. Yates was here. I don't know if that would be necessary for her to do that so quickly. I would anticipate that this sale is going to happen probably before your next meeting.
Oh, you expect the sale? You expect the sale within 2 weeks?
I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, there's
I
either
don't
going to be
know.
interest or there's not.
If we sold at 90%, then we'd have a loss of 36,000.
That's correct.
470. So if it's, I was just thinking, this is the end of the quarter. So for any reporting, if they, I'd like to know if that's going to be included in the expense or not. Because if you get offered 90%, are you going to take it?
It's up to the city manager.
If we have a bid that's there, and depending on how long we have to run that bid for, we want to accept the highest bid.
Of course.
But if we do have one that meets that minimum, we'll be able to at least consider that at that time. If we think there may be higher bids, we may let that go another few days. Now, this particular ordinance that you just approved does take it all into a budget adjustment as expense, and then whatever amount we come back and sell the buses for, they'll come back in as a revenue into the same fund. So the difference would be a loss.
Right.
So, well, we won't know what that is until the actual sale. But currently, all of this is going to be expensed on the initial.
I understand that, but the potential loss based on accepting a 90% would be a 10%
Yes.
loss. And normally, if you have that type of estimate, you go ahead and recognize that in that period. And if, for sure, we would have it sold this year, so it would be done
Right.
before the end of the year.
Sure.
But my thoughts were, since this is June, and it's the end of the second quarter, do we need to include that in this quarter end?
You know, I mean, I think we could amend this to increase the revenue in transit buses 5837 less that 10%, if we're wanting to see that revenue come back into the budget as another line item to have the offsetting revenue against the expense. If that's, am I hearing that right?
Right.
So
I mean, it equates to the same.
So that you can do it in this quarter.
Well,
I mean,
that was my question.
Ultimately, it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if it actual occurs, it's not an issue. But my question, since it is the end of the second quarter, do we need to include that? If it doesn't have a sale, then we may need to look at, so everything's included at quarter end.
If it does not sell, we will be back in front of this board.
Well, you're saying if it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, or what?
Well,
I don't
I guess
understand.
I'm misunderstanding, I think.
We have a
where you wanna
potential,
go.
with this resolution, we're recognizing we have a potential loss on the sale of these two buses that we just approved going ahead and paying for, 36,000, a little more.
Right.
If we don't sell them by the end of the month, do we need to include that loss in our financial reports?
Well, my recommendation is going to be that we have Doretha contact, Gary Welch at the accounting firm and seek his guidance as to the timing of the recognition. While there's 2 weeks left in the quarter, the actual accounting will not occur until second and the third week in July, which gives us plenty of time to see guidance as to how to recognize this. I mean, it's important for us to have accurate financials. And so I would look to Gary Welch at Jordan, Woosley, Crone, and Keaton for some guidance in that. And Doretha can reach out.
I will tell you that Doretha was part of the approval process of this draft that went out to the various department heads that were affected by your consideration of this. That was not an issue that she raised.
We typically don't do quarterly audits or budgets or anything else. I mean, we can recognize the revenue within the same month that we do this, if you'd like. And that'll only show that $36,000 out there that would be a loss.
No,
And
we
go ahead and
normally
book
do
it.
a mid-year review, and you come to us with any mid-year adjustments.
Well, and I think we can
And this
still do
is-
that, recognizing
Yeah.
this.
Just if you could provide us some feedback on that.
We can do that.
Any further discussion amongst directors?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. We will
Yes.
sell one bus to someone and one bus to someone else. They don't have to go as a pair,
Correct.
right?
We'll list them both.
Okay. I want to be sure that we,
Yeah.
I think that will broaden the market.
Yeah.
They're not married.
Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trusty.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution's adopted. This time we'll entertain Board of Directors items for discussion. We have any items for discussion?
I
Director
just
Garcia?
quickly want to mention, you started off with our great mountain biking availability here in Hot Springs and how it's drawing people of all ages here. Well, on the other end of the young man that is doing so well with the mountain biking in the junior division, the partnership with the city and the Hot Springs School District with pickleball has been growing with the seniors, and there are tournaments, and they have several teams out at the village, and now there's several teams within Hot Springs, and some of my neighbors participate in the pickleball and have been talking about our parks with the school on the pickleball courts. So it's getting recognition within our residents in the city, particularly our seniors.
Mayor, if I could, we're working now to I think have either 2 or 3 courts down for Wade Street Park, working with a gentleman named J.P. McIntosh, who's an avid player that's wanting to teach a lot of the kids over in the Wade Street community.
That's
So
good.
we're going to, there's a couple of basketball courts there. We're going to take one and stripe that for pickleball and buy the nets and put the nets up and work with Mr. McIntosh on those. We've also got a huge tournament that's been submitted. I don't know exactly yet. It's still making its rounds, but it's to close off the Bridge Street Entertainment District. And Lance, do you remember how many courts those were?
I think there was close to 30.
Wow, that's great.
It'll bring hundreds of people into downtown Hot Springs to play pickleball. It's the fastest growing sport in
Yeah.
America right now. So
Is that like tennis?
it's a cross between tennis and ping pong. And
It's easier
you're on
than
the table.
tennis.
So I probably could play that.
You get 2.
Got that rivalry coming back at you.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Any other items for discussion?
The mayor,
Hearing none?
is that it?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for the night.
have a
It's
motion?
7:05.
We got a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second, Director Garcia.
1 hour.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
1 hour.
We do have